I wonder it can be easy to pick up a game and play and try and get the gameplay across. How important is it for you to actually get the correct meaning across?
I don't even know what correct meaning means.
I guess
Like
your meaning.
See, that's not how I do it. Like, this is hard to talk about, but when I make a game, there's definitely something that it's about. And there's definitely something that I'm trying to get at, right? But it's not a simply stated moral the way, like, I don't make a game where at the end you get to the last level and it says, and the moral of the story is people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. And now that he understood this, he had a better life. Or, that's not, the things that I go for are not that. Because I understand what that means. And, like, I understand what a statement like that means. And many people in the world do. And that's fine. But I'm after things that are more complex and more, a little bit beyond my reach, right? So the things that I go for in games tend to be like, if I can reach this far verbally, they tend to be like out here. Like I can't verbalize it. And that's one reason why a complex interactive structure of a game can be a good way to illustrate ideas like that.
You said one time that, if I could describe it, I would have written it down instead of made a game.
Well, yeah,
Like,
and I've always felt that way about everything. Yeah. Like when someone asks, like, what was a movie about? It's just like I can't tell you what that movie was about. Unless it's a stupid movie, then you can say what it's about. But if it's like a really wonderful movie, yeah, then you can't say what it's about. You can only, there's the Zen concept of the finger pointing at the moon, right? Like. If I show you this, right, I'm not trying to show you the finger. I'm trying to show you the moon, but the moon is really far. So all I've got is the finger, right? It's like that. So I've used this book as an example before, but I'm actually rereading. Do I have it with me? No. Very sad. No. Anyway. So I'm rereading Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon, which is a very complicated book. It's not that easy to understand. I can't tell you what the meaning of that book is. That would be absurd. Like, you just can't... When you're trying to write about a novel that complex, you might pick an idea, like, this is the really bad college or high school version of it, but like, here's the ways that the imagery of gravity pops up in different ways. And isn't it interesting, all these different ways, if you do a good job writing that, isn't it interesting all these different ways, like the way that tidal is at least the triple entendre, and the way that this imagery of like, parabolas and things comes into the story. But you could write 1,000 different things like that, and they're all there in the book. Really, like the author really put all those things in there. You can't expect any reader to get all of that. It's just not... I certainly don't understand all of Gravity's Rainbow. There's a lot of like right now, I was just reading, a couple pages. There's a daydream fantasy that one of the characters is having, and it starts out with him in Stockholm, getting off the train, getting in the limousine, right? And now with the extra life experience I have, I realize, he's in Stockholm, right? He's a scientist. He's fantasizing about having won the Nobel Prize, and that's why people are treating him as a... I didn't understand that the first time I read the book. And word Nobel Prize is not in the book. The only way you can put that together is with life experience and having that association, right? There's tons of stuff like that in this book, and I don't see 80% of it.
Have you ever seen like...
Because a lot of it's like World War II, like, stuff that I don't even know about, right?
Have you seen the stuff associated with like the annotated version of some Joyce novels? And
Yeah.
Just like the Ulysses annotation thing is way longer than Ulysses.
Yeah. But that's what makes it a work that you can go back to again and again and reflect on differently and get more out of. Like, I think it's a really wonderful book, and I know that I don't understand a lot of it. And that's fine. And the fact that that's not normal in games is what bothers me, right? The fact that people come to me and say, I didn't understand your story, therefore you have failed as an author. Like, people say that to me once in a while. And I'm just like, nobody says that about, like, even something terrible, like, pick a Led Zeppelin song where the lyrics don't make any sense, right? They probably never made any sense. They were probably just totally high when they wrote that song, all right? Nobody goes to them and says, I didn't understand the story behind that song, and therefore you're a failure as a band. Has anyone here seen Upstream Color movie that just came out? Really good. Okay, shamefully few people in this room have seen it. You should all see it. It's a really good movie.
It's the primer guy.
By Shane Carruth, the guy who made Primer. Very, very appropriate, because the dude, like, writes his movies, he acts in them as the main character or co-main character, directs them. So it's very much like indie game development, but in film.
It's digitally distributed right now.
Just yesterday, yeah, you can go watch it on the internet. But I bring this movie up because it has a certain pointing at the moon kind of aesthetic, like I'm talking about. Like, you watch the movie, you will not understand the movie. Not even any time that you see it, I don't think. Like, certainly not the first time. But you can watch it 5 times and not understand anything about it, but it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. And it's something like that. The structure of Braid's a little different, but it's something like that. And so to bring full circle to the actual question that was asked, isn't it kind of why is it that we're sort of the Hicks of my dad's from Alabama, so I can say Hick. Why is it that we're the Hicks of sort of these kind of forms where, so, I just totally squished this and made a mess. So a lot of people are not going to really I'm going to prepare it the right way. A lot of people are not going to appreciate a film like Upstream Color, right? Like, it's not a lot of people's thing. But nobody would go to the director and say, oh, you're a failure as a storyteller because I didn't understand. No, it's just understood that sometimes in film you do this kind of thing, right? Like, a lot of people don't understand the ending of 2001 particularly well, but they don't get angry and, well, I don't know, maybe they do. But the point is, there's a tradition there.
Gravity's Rainbow is not like The Witness. Like, it really doesn't try to handhold you at all. And that's actually one of the things that I like about it, because Gravity's Rainbow makes a different decision. It says, we're just going for it, man. It's like, I mean, I never got very good at like reading Ulysses or whatever, but it's like that. Or Finnegan's Wake, right? I guess. It's like, look, man, we're just going for it, and we're going to do all this stuff. And if you can't follow along, then you can't follow along, and that's fine. And there's just so much stuff in this book that you're going to miss a lot of it, and that's fine. And just get what you can get, and just keep up at the pace at which you can keep up. And that's a really interesting decision to make, because it means that you can do things at a much higher density than otherwise, because explaining requires time and space, right? And ramping things out so that people slowly enter in and understand requires time and space. And if you cut out that time or you just don't spend effort on that time and space, you get a different thing, right? So that's what I like about Gravity's Rainbow. It's like a neutronium of ideas. It's very densely packed. I never got into Finnegan's Wake or Ulysses. I tried to read those books, and they're even way less penetrable. So I'm not a big Joyce fan, but Pynchon, I'm a fan. I mean, Pynchon's books changed tremendously over the course of his career as well. So, like, what is a Pynchon fan exactly? I don't know. It sounds a lot like The Witness, though. Well, The Witness is very dense with ideas. That's one of the things that I tried to do. But it at least starts at the very beginning, easing you in, right? And sometimes there are new areas that kind of ease you in. And sometimes, yeah, it's like Witness is like some aspects of Gravity's Rainbow and unlike other aspects, right? But no matter what, so The Witness, I mean, here's a different thing about games and books. Like The Witness, I think, is more idea dense than most video games, right? It's very hard to think of games that even attempt to have nearly that many ideas in them. But it's still a small number of ideas compared to a novel like Gravity's Rainbow, because it's just so much more, like, written text is really, really dense. However, there is something magical about the nonverbal quality that you can get with the game communication, like we do in The Witness, that makes it, like, subtle and intangible and connects to subliminal things very well. And so that's something that we can do that maybe is harder to do with language sometimes, or at least different. But for density of ideas, you can't beat a good novel, I don't think.